Welcome to episode 4 of the e-commerce marketing and optimization podcast. In this episode, I'm talking to Terry Lin from the Build My Online Store podcast. And this is a bit of a different episode because we're discussing his ballerleather.com website where he sells men's leather wallets. At the time that we recorded this episode, the website was pretty new. So this episode is really relevant if you have a brand new e-commerce website and you're looking to get more traffic or improve the conversion rate on it, or if you've had an e-commerce website for some time and you're looking to get proactive and really dial up the online marketing. So some of the key topics we discuss in this episode is Google Analytics and why your Google Analytics data might be faulty or might be missing information and how to check for that. We look at some SEO basics. In particular, we dig into meta descriptions. We look at PayPal, or we talk about PayPal versus PayPal Express Checkout and why the Express Checkout may cause problems or may actually be hurting your conversion rate because of the way it bypasses your abandoned cart email system. We talk about single page checkouts versus multi-page checkouts and why in many cases the single page checkout may be a lot better for your conversion rate. We talk about some video SEO basics, YouTube versus Wistia, and we get into a whole bunch of quick tips and tricks that apply in particular brand new stores. So things that are easily going to bump your traffic, even if it's only a small amount, but it could be a 5 or 10% win. And we talk about some easy ways to improve your conversion rate and some ways to uncover conversion problems that you might not be aware of, problems that may be stopping people from hitting the buy button or completing the checkout, and some tactics that can help you uncover those problems really easily. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Full show notes, everything else relating to the episode are over at the Pareto e-commerce website. So once you've had a listen, head over there and check it out and get all the info, all the links, everything else. So I'll leave you to it. Here's the episode.
You're listening to the E-commerce Marketing and Optimization Podcast, the show where we help you grow your six-figure e-commerce business to 7 figures and 7-figure e-commerce business to 8 figures and beyond. If you want to learn more about how we can help you in your business, go to ParetoEcommerce.com.
Okay, so I've been through the site and I've spent 10 or 15 minutes going through it, and you have some classic mistakes which are fairly common for new e-commerce sites. So I approach this the same way as I'd approach if you're a consulting client. So the first thing we do is go through, look at the kind of best practices stuff and pick up any quick wins there are on the website. So I've kind of got I've chunked it down into 4 sections.
And before we get into it, this is the same process you go through in Pareto e-commerce too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Absolutely. So the first section in Pareto e-commerce is all about quick wins, because particularly if you're a 6 or 7 figure e-commerce site, you already got a lot of the foundational stuff in place, and small little tweaks and changes can make a massive difference. So yeah, we go through all these quick wins and it's pretty simple stuff, but often there's 1 or 2 of them that are just completely missed that make a huge difference. So in terms of the first thing we do, we just have a look at analytics and make sure it's in place, so Google Analytics, and making sure that e-commerce tracking is turned on. So we just normally check the code, look at the view source on the website. So on your site, I've gone in and done a view source, and it looks like the analytics code is actually duplicated, so it's in there twice. So that's not a big deal from a tracking of visitors perspective, but it might be breaking your engagement stats, and it might also be breaking your e-commerce tracking.
Gotcha.
So that would be the first action point, is to remove one of those duplicates. So there's one at the top.
Yeah, I think it's in the header, right?
Yeah, there's one in the header, and then there's one in the footer as well. So they've been duplicated for some reason. So that would be an easy win, and your analytics data right now it's probably inaccurate. So that would be the first thing to fix. Second thing, I don't have access to your analytics, so I don't know if the e-commerce tracking is actually working. So we'd make sure that that's turned on and the sales data is going into Google Analytics.
Yeah, I have that on. One thing I also did was I did a funnel visualization. Is that something that you find helpful too? Like, I just found it helpful to see where people are dropping off on the site, but is it like a critical thing to do, or?
I wouldn't say for a brand new site that it's going to give you a lot of leverage, but yeah, it's definitely once you've got kind of the boxes checked, it's worth checking out. I've got a few more comments about your checkout as well, so further down the list. Once the e-commerce tracking is working, we have some data, we do a check to make sure it's accurate. So for a lot of e-commerce systems, they don't actually capture all the conversions in analytics, and most people assume that's 100% accurate. So if you're basing, particularly if you're a bigger site and you're making big decisions about AdWords spend or certain marketing channels where you're making those big decisions whether to turn them on or off, if you're making decisions on faulty data, then that's a problem. So the next thing that we do, once we have analytics, e-commerce tracking turned on, let it run for 7 days or 7 to 14 days, so 1 to 2 weeks. And we go in and check to make sure that the numbers in analytics are actually accurate against the orders we have in the system. So the easiest way to do that is to go in and check. So in analytics, we can see the order IDs. So we just go in and match those up for the last 2 weeks of orders or 1 week of orders in the e-commerce system. So again, that would be something for you to action just to make sure that it's correct.
So you're saying when I get an order in, say, my BigCommerce backend, that is actually showing up in analytics too, essentially?
Yep. So you can drill in and see all the order data, see the dollar amounts and all the products you've sold. So particularly, I know Magento has big problems with this where sometimes it doesn't capture all the PayPal payments because of the way PayPal works, where it pushes people out to PayPal and then they come back to the site. So often that coming back to the site, if it doesn't happen, it breaks the e-commerce tracking or something goes wrong in that process. So for people listening, I would absolutely check to make sure that that e-commerce data is accurate, because I'll probably in 30-40% of the time we see it and it's not right. So
yeah, I think that's guilty as charged, because I got a few orders last week and it didn't show up my analytics, but I was like, oh, I think that's why I have two codes, because I think one, I put in my shopping cart, like you can paste the code in, and then I didn't see the sale, so I started putting it in the header, and that's probably why it's duplicated. So
yeah, if it's duplicated, it'll definitely break the analytics tracking, the e-commerce tracking. So yeah, and I think for you, if you just send BigCommerce an email, they'll probably tell you the exact code that where it actually should be to make all their stuff work as well. Okay, so the next thing we do, so that's Google Analytics kind of sorted. Particularly because you're a brand new website, we get Crazy Egg heat maps analytics installed. So we would do it at a minimum on the homepage, and then usually we pick the top 3 to 5 pages on the website. Yours is a bit of a smaller site, so we might put it on all the product pages, but we definitely get it on the homepage. And what we're looking for there, we run the heat map tool for at least 30 days, but we want to look at anything that's below the fold that's getting a lot of clicks. So to explain the concept of above and below the fold, anything that displays on your screen before you scroll is what we call above the fold. So we want all the important stuff to be above the fold. So if there's something that we have to, if we're looking at the Crazy Egg data and there's something below the fold that's getting a lot of clicks, that probably should be moved up and the layer of the site tweaked. So because you're a new site, a relatively new site, that would be my next step, is get that in and just see where people are clicking on the site, because there might be stuff that's right on the bottom in the footer menu that should be in the main menu, for example.
So if people are, say, clicking shipping information in their footer, it should be placed more on the top somewhere.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Or maybe its own, like a main menu item dedicated to it.
Gotcha. And is there a certain amount of visits that it makes this heat map data more valuable? Like, is it like you need like 1,000 data points, or do you just let it run for 30 days and see what you got? Because I think a lot of new sites, they have the traffic problem. Like they say they're getting 50 visitors a day, or they're really not at that big enough traffic level.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We'd need to run it for at least 30 days. If it's a big site and it's already doing big traffic numbers, that's a different sort of scenario. But I would say a minimum of 30 days, and you probably do need about 1,000 visits for it to be, or at least 500 visits for it to be useful data to. But if you have a look at it, you can see if there's a trend where something is getting so many clicks. It's obvious. You don't need to kind of give it the time to run, or you don't need that much traffic to tell. Then sometimes there'll be things that are just really obvious that stand out, and often there's areas that people are clicking on that don't actually link somewhere as well. Like there might be a banner or an image or something that people are clicking all the time, it doesn't go anywhere, and that's another easy fix. So the next step 2 would be to get Google product listing ads sorted. So
yes, I don't have that yet. I need to do that.
Yeah. I did some quick searches. I just jumped into the shopping tab and I searched baller leather wallets and I didn't get anything. So that would be an easy win for you, is getting that up and running and at least testing it. It's cheap traffic. It's highly qualified. It's going to be people who are typing in thin leather wallets, Italian leather wallets, that sort of stuff, money clips. So it's worth at least testing, even if you just start with a $5 a day budget. And on top of that, we'd get you listed in some free price comparison engines as well. So 2 easy ones. that can often generate sales by themselves, and the way they're structured can give you some backlinks, shopwiki.com and define.com. So normally we do Google Shopping, Define, and ShopWiki all in one go.
Gotcha. And so for most store owners looking to implement this too, is this like something you can do in like 2-3 days on your own, or do you need like a professional to help you set up the feed and all that stuff?
It depends on how many products. So, and it depends what CMS you're on. So if you're on one of the mainstream CMSs, so like Volusion, BigCommerce, Shopify, it's really easy to do, and they have support that's going to help you to a degree, and they have like walkthroughs and really good wikis and knowledge bases. So if you're somewhat tech savvy, you can work it out. And also there's Shopify plugs into Retail Tower, which is really, really easy to get set up with. If you have a bigger site with a lot of products and you have some technical expertise, but you just don't want to waste the time, GoDataFeed.com can also be really good for setting up more complex feeds. And they have feed setup services. I think that starts at $60 a month or something like that. So they can take the feed and plug it into all sorts of different places.
Gotcha. So you also mentioned something called ShopWiki. I'm just on the site now. So this is kind of like a Amazon aggregator type of thing, like they just find feeds and they put them here, or what is the deal?
Pretty much, yeah. So it's just a free price comparison engine. So there's no cost to be there, apart from 10 or 15 minutes of your time. And we've seen that some clients do get direct sales and some traffic from them. So it doesn't hurt to do it.
And you only have to set it up once, and then you're in there, and it'll just,
that's it.
Whenever people stop by, they'll see. Gotcha. All right, very cool. And do you see this like trending in e-commerce? Like, do you see other engines popping up, or is it just kind of like an anomaly with ShopWiki or kind of these sites?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of free ones. There's definitely, if you search your primary keywords, the keywords you're trying to target, there's probably some price engines that rank highly for those terms. So that's usually how, apart from eBay and Amazon, that's usually how we kind of select the price engines to target and run ads for clients on. And those can be really cheap. It's kind of, a lot of them hijack the organic search results, and they rank really high when they probably shouldn't, but they're getting the traffic. So, and when you're advertising on some of these engines, it's like 20 cents or 40 cents a click. So it doesn't hurt to at least test them for a month. So if you never test them, you never know, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was listening to This Week's in Startups a couple of days ago, and I think he had this guy from like producthunt.com. Did you see like Dan Norris post about that on his Facebook?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so I guess it's like an aggregator, kind of like this too, but it's like curated from a bunch of tech guys in SF, and it's kind of interesting. Like it's like a Reddit, but you have like product aggregators, and you can just upvote, downvote products, and every day they post like 10 new products on there. And it sounded kind of interesting, but I checked it out. Like, it seems pretty new, but I don't really know how it's going to work. But because I brought this up because you mentioned ShopWiki. So anyways, getting off topic here. All right, so next one.
Yeah, so product listing ads, and also they're not really set and forget, so they can break quite easily. The feed breaks, or if you change the data, change the product data in your CMS, then it can break the feed quite a bit. So as well as setting them up, I usually say do a calendar reminder. So we manage it on behalf of clients, but if you're going to DIY it, set up weekly or a fortnightly reminder to log into the Merchant Center and check the feed and make sure there's no errors showing up and all the products are approved. And also checking into AdWords and looking at the numbers and making sure they're actually profitable as well. Okay, so step 3, there's some really simple SEO things we can do that don't involve backlinks, and they're best practices, and a lot of people don't talk about them or know them. So the first thing that I do on the organic front is just jump into Google and do a search against your domain name, site:/wallaleather.com. So doing that can pick up all sorts of problems. So we do that and we can see it's brought back 65 results. So it means there's no real issues with indexation. That's roughly how many pages you have on the site, so that's okay. Often, particularly with like a Magento site, there'll be 100 pages on the site and Google will have indexed 1,000. So, if the number of pages indexed doesn't really match what's on your site, there's some sort of canonical issue or some sort of indexation issue with the site. Likewise, if your site only returned 5 pages indexed and, there's roughly 50 pages on the site, then we have some sort of other indexation issue.
This is like a super basic thing to like check. Like,
yeah, a lot of people don't know about.
It's like a no-brainer thing.
Yeah, it's like when I'm talking to clients on the phone or prospects on the phone and kind of look, they ask for some quick wins or ballpark cost or whatever, this is the first thing I do is just go in and see what the site looks like from an SEO perspective. So I can see all sorts of stuff looking at this. So some other things that are really easy to pick up is some of your meta descriptions need work. Now, in the SEO space, a lot of people talk about backlinks and rankings and penalties and all this sort of stuff, but there's not much talk about click-through rate. So it's funny, when in the kind of AdWords space, it's all about click-through rate. And people talk about how you can swap the two lines, the top and bottom line of an ad around, and it can double the click-through rate. But nobody really talks about optimizing meta descriptions to improve click-through rate. So for you, there's some classic mistakes with meta descriptions. They're either too long or too short. They use all lowercase, whereas if you use capitals for the important words, it can increase click-through rate. And often they're not written in a very salesy manner. So
yeah, like I see a lot of it's pulling just from my menu or like some old lorem ipsum stuff I have on the site, and it's just pulling the default content on the site. So whereas I should actually go in and write like it's like 100 something character description optimized for this, right?
Yeah, so you do have it set, but it's too short. So that's why it's coming up and it's showing I've got two different sets of results. So one of them is showing your menu item, and then the other one is showing, if I Google your name, it's actually showing the meta description as set. So right now your meta description is on the homepage is settle for nothing less than a handcrafted Italian leather wallet, free international shipping included. So you're not using 30% of the space. So something more like beautiful handcrafted Italian leather wallets that are thin, light, and fit easily in your pocket.
Gotcha. It's even got loading in there.
Yeah, you gotta sexy words, man. You gotta use those
loading. Please wait. Oh, that's so not sexy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and you've got the hashtag in there and the view cart, and so.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I pull it up on site ball leather, and when you search at Google, it's 2 meta descriptions, right? So this is something in my backend I need to go look at where it's actually.
Yeah, so I would make it longer, sex it up a bit. And also I think you probably need a little bit more text content on the homepage, because pretty much the most of your homepage is images. So
yeah, the main page, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So setting...
Yeah, I think under the... Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, even adding like alt tags and title tags for the images in your banner will fatten out the content. That'll probably double. If you just added a line of content for each of those banner images, you'd effectively double the text content on the homepage.
Gotcha. And when you're inspecting the content, are you doing like the inspect element, or are you just looking at terms of like the text visible on the screen?
I do a view source, and often I'll just highlight. I'll run the mouse over and kind of highlight it. And it, just by highlighting it, I can see where the blocks of the elements are. And if you click on stuff and drag it, I can see that they're all images. Cool. So homepage meta description, and another big one, product page meta descriptions as well, because more often than not with an e-commerce site, customers are not coming in through the homepage; they're coming in through one of the product pages. So the better the product page meta descriptions are written, the higher the click-through rate is going to be, so you get more traffic. So, for an example, you have for your product called the Capella Money Clip. So right now the meta description is free shipping for this money clip wallet by Ball of Leather. The Capella Money Clip wallet holds 6 to 8 cards and 15 notes. So, you could sex it up, change the words around a little bit, and you could easily double the click-through rate. So something more like the Capella Money Clip wallet is a stylish, ultra-slim wallet designed to hold 6 to 8 cards and 15 notes. Buy online with fast, insured worldwide shipping.
Gotcha. So basically, you have like an AdWords mindset when you're approaching these meta tags.
Exactly.
Right? Gotcha. So it's more punchy, sexy copy, like 1-2 sentences, bam, thank you, ma'am, kind of.
Yeah, it's like a mini sales letter. So we're basically selling the click. That's what we're... So we're not trying to sell the product in the meta description, but we're trying to get them to click. We want their interest and attention enough so they go through to the website. Gotcha.
All right, very cool, very helpful. All right. Anything else about this, or should we move on to the next one?
And one more thing I can see, just doing the site search, there's a blog.ballofleather site as well kicking around that I can see in the search results. So
yeah, there's a subdomain I have dicking around that I need to fix that. So it's on a WordPress. So yeah, I didn't expect it to show up here. Like, I have it not on the main page, but I gotta figure out what to do with this. So because I think I had this when BigCommerce didn't have a blog, and then they added the blog function, I think like a month ago. So this subdomain is just kind of sitting around, and I'm not really doing anything with it. So couldn't escape your eye.
No, and that's a simple mistake, and that's not a big deal. But often you'll find all sorts of weird subdomains, particularly on established sites. This sort of doing the site : domain name search uncovers all sorts of skeletons in the cupboard.
Yeah, because this is the best way to really get like a bird's eye view of your whole on-site SEO, right? Basically, without going to each page and going to the tab and changing each.
Yeah, it's a nice, quick, easy way to do it. The other tools, so if I need to do deeper analysis, using a tool called Screaming Frog SEO Spider is also really good for getting more into this stuff. And it's also free. It'll index up to 500 pages for free. So that's also another good tool to check out.
Is Screaming Frog or Spider?
Screaming Frog, yeah, SEO Spider.
Okay, Screaming Frog and SEO Spider. Gotcha.
Cool. And then I've got just some easy, just going through the site and kind of working my way through the sales process. One thing that most e-commerce businesses don't do is go through their own checkout on a regular basis. So particularly where it's a site that's a couple of years old, the guy who runs the business probably hasn't been through the checkout in years. So I just walked through your checkout, and there was there's a few things that I picked up. So one big easy one, so I had a look at the contact us page as well, and you've got a phone number on there. One easy way to build more trust is to add the phone number to the header so it shows on all pages.
Gotcha. So you would put it like right next to view cart up there?
Yeah.
Around there?
Because the BigCommerce has that line there. So where that view card is a menu. So you could just add the telephone number in there, nice and easy. And it would be a very quick code change. And it would be an easy conversion win. Even if people don't call you, it's going to help the conversion rate.
Yeah, I've only gotten like one call ever. And I called the guy back and he didn't answer. So, but most of them are emails though. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just a trust thing. If people know they pick up the phone and call you, they're more likely to convert. The second one is the default. The BigCommerce Express checkout is not very conversion rate optimized. So if you head to the first page of the checkout, let me just bring it up here. It's got 5 steps and it looks a bit daunting. If you turn off the single page checkout, it will actually convert slightly better because it only shows the field that they're filling out at that time. So it's just a cleaner experience and less cluttered and less confusing. So
yeah, I know what you're talking about because I started with the original one first and I thought no one wants to go to separate pages, but I just haven't tested it a lot. But I know what you mean. That it looks a little daunting when you have like 5 steps. And actually, when you enter PayPal, a 6 step jumps up.
Yeah.
Actually. I don't know if you went that far, but it's kind of annoying. And I think it's just part of the theme. I can't really hack it, at least on my own.
There is BigCommerce, there's a setting. There's a setting somewhere to turn it from, I think it's from one page express checkout to multi-step. Now, it's kind of like, so normally we would say one page checkout converts better. So BigCommerce is kind of the other way around, where the one-page checkout is kind of cluttered and ugly versus the multi-step checkout. But this is something we do. So almost all CMSs have a more optimized, conversion-optimized checkout that's more simpler and more intuitive and less confusing. So even if you're not on BigCommerce, like Magento is so many bad things in Magento, and I hate to keep using an example, but there are so many one-page checkout plugins for Magento that actually double the conversion rate just by installing, a new checkout system. So it can make a massive difference. So it's definitely worth at least testing.
What about WooCommerce? Since some people listening might be on that too.
There are some alternative checkouts, but there's no simplified checkout option. But I can send you a link. I have a link to a page where a web dev shop have given an example of how they've coded a more simplified checkout. So can stick that in the show notes, but there's no plugin where you can just install it and it simplifies the checkout.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not on WooCommerce, so I have no idea, but just in case someone was on that, I think. All right, cool. And anything else about the checkout? I know we talked about kind of the different steps, 1 page, 2 page.
So you've got 2 gateways, so that's awesome. So normally we say to customers, if you've only got one payment gateway, that's a problem, but you've got both PayPal and credit card, which is great. And you've also got PayPal Express checkout turned off, which is good as well. Even though the option says PayPal Express, it's at the end of the checkout process. And what I mean is, you've probably seen, you get to a checkout, there's an option to check out and there's an option to go by PayPal. Now, most of the time we see a conversion increase removing that button, because with the button in place, if someone clicks it, the customer goes to PayPal first to complete the order, then they're brought back to the site and PayPal pushes the order into the database. Whereas the normal checkout process, the order happens on the website first and then they get pushed across to PayPal. And that's better because it pushes them through their abandoned cart system, and it also gets the order. So if something breaks on the PayPal side, then we still have the order in the system. We can follow up with the customer. So that's another good thing. You don't have those PayPal buttons turned on.
Yeah, I've had that happen once or twice where they try to do PayPal, some error comes up and it shows up in my thing. So I guess, actually, I didn't know that Express thing was like that, but now that you told me.
Yeah, PayPal will tell you that it converts better, but their job is to sell you on PayPal and get more transactions. So what they say is not necessarily the truth. And a lot of people get to PayPal and they're locked out of their account, or they can't log in, or can't remember their password. They have all sorts of problems when they get there. So definitely better to get the order in your system first before pushing them out to PayPal versus the way around.
Yeah, and I found when I buy stuff that makes me go to PayPal first, sometimes I'll just close the PayPal and like just leave because I abandoned the cart. Or I guess it's more prone to do that. I don't know. I mean, is there like science to this, or am I just talking out of my ass?
Well, I don't know. There's probably a lot of opinions around the web. My own opinion is the PayPal checkout is really designed to get PayPal signups and subscribers, not to sell your stuff. So their priority is to get people into their system. So, and that PayPal checkout has not changed in many, many years. So, I'm sure it's not up to date with the latest conversion science or whatever as well. I don't know if I put together a cart, but it probably wasn't long enough ago. I don't know if you've got an abandoned cart email system, but that would be something else to make sure you have in place. Last one I have is testing live chat. So because you're a new website, there could be all sorts of things that customers are wanting that the site doesn't do, or they can't find, or they're having trouble with. So usually we'll say to customers, you don't have to commit to live chat, just do it for 30 days. And try a live chat product that has a proactive chat option. So it will actually initiate the chat session with the visitor if they've been on the site for a certain amount of time or visited certain pages. So that would be the other thing that's probably worth checking out, even if you just run it for a short period of time.
So would you say, say after you've been on a product page for 2 minutes, it just pops up, like, hey, do you need help with anything, or stuff like that, right?
Yeah, even shorter. So 2 minutes is a long time. So if they've been on the site for 45 seconds or more, or, if they're sitting on a checkout page for too long, then, pop it up and ask them what's happening if they need help.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So I guess, kind of thanks for running through the site. So if someone wants to learn more about what you do, kind of create e-commerce, what are some other modules you have in the program as we wrap things up a little bit?
Those are kind of the quick wins we've just been through. Once we've done quick wins, then we look at more in-depth SEO stuff. So there's a lot of on-page SEO stuff you can do that will increase traffic or ranking or click-through rate without having to go after backlinks. So we'd look at that. A big one is fattening out product page descriptions, and they really should be standalone sales letters. So a customer should be able to do everything they need and know everything they need to buy that product from that product page. That's an easy win. But that's an example of SEO, on-page SEO, and also email marketing. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do around email, like abandoned cart emails at just the start. You can have pre-buy sequence, you can have order follow-up sequence, rebuys, all sorts of stuff. So because SEO and email marketing are effectively, there's no dollars required for those marketing channels. Those are the kind of next things we focus on in the Pareto e-commerce. And then after that, we look at paid traffic, so AdWords, and getting AdWords basics set up.
Gotcha. So it's like a really quick wins, and then kind of things you can leverage cheaply before you get into the kind of more pricey things that people are more hesitant to say. All right, gotcha. Very cool. And one thing you mentioned, I heard on another podcast, was that on product descriptions, you would even put shipping information and payment stuff, even if it's duplicate, right? Does that make sense, or?
Yeah, because like I said, they really should be sales letters by themselves. So if people have to hunt around for payment information and credit card stuff and shipping stuff, then often they get lost on the site or lose interest. So even if it's just, your shipping information page might be a page long or half a page long, but even if it's just a short blurb and it links out to the shipping page, that's better than nothing. And often a lot of the time, the product descriptions we see might be barely a paragraph long. Yours are pretty good, but particularly where there's more products on the site, that can be a real problem. So just having some templated stuff about shipping and payment can be an easy way to fatten it out, and also avoid Google thin content penalties as well.
Yeah, I think even on my site, I could still do a lot more, like how we make stuff, just add some story to it. There's a lot more. I think I could probably do 3-4 more paragraphs. And you might as well do it once, right? Because then once it's up there, it gets indexed and there's more fatter content that people can see.
Yeah. And also having more content, it helps you get more impressions in Google Shopping or the product listing ads as well. So
yeah. And one thing I want to ask you too is on video, I have Wistia on there. Is there any difference with using Vimeo, YouTube, Wistia, or other players for product videos, or?
It depends on what your goal is. So because yours isn't a straight break fix product, there's I would say, so normally I'd say YouTube videos all the way, because we're trying to get the YouTube views up and get them plastered around the web. So we start ranking the YouTube videos. And that's great where it's a very problem solution product where people are Googling a fix to whatever it is. And, being number one in Google is going to get you the sale. But because yours is more of a luxury purchase, that's not necessarily true all the time. But I think it would be worth swapping out the YouTube videos and seeing what it does to the rank. It really depends why you've got the Wistia videos there, whether you're actually looking at the analytics data and doing anything with it. If you're not doing anything with it, then definitely swapping them out for YouTube would be worth it. But also because the Wistia plan is quite nice and clean versus the YouTube is kind of clunky, and it has a lot of things that you don't need on there. So there are kind of skins for YouTube where you can get rid of a lot of extra buttons and links and all sorts of stuff. So if you were going to do that, I'd say clean it up and make sure it looks kind of elegant in line with your brand.
Yeah, I noticed some sites can run it through like Lead Player, but I've used it like half a year ago. I thought it was kind of clunky though. Like the buttons are a little weird,
yeah, you can slim it down without Lead Player. I think if you Google like YouTube embed code generator, there are tools out there where you can get rid of a lot of the things like the volume button and some of the links and a lot of the YouTube branding. So that's kind of a good kind of halfway measure.
Gotcha. All right, very cool. And so for anyone that's listening or watching this video, if they want to find out more about Pareto e-commerce, can they sign up already? Is this out yet, or what's the deal?
If they head over to paretoecommerce.com and stick their email in there, they'll get all the info.
Awesome. Very cool. And I guess join the email list. Certainly this is very helpful. So this is what Brendan does in Pareto e-commerce too. So if this is something you want, go ahead, check out his site, paretoecommerce.com. And Brendan, thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
For sure.
All right. Very cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Marketing and Optimization Podcast. If you want the latest e-commerce tips, tactics, and strategies, make sure to join our mailing list at paretoecommerce.com.